we had some headlines for sure in the Big Ten. I think the Pac-12 and the Big Ten maybe two of the most newsworthy conferences in week one. Number 7, Penn State beats West Virginia 38-15. Trey, the headlines to me were Drew Aller's really good. 325 yards, 3 touchdowns, did not turn the ball over. But also, West Virginia, like you actually said in the preview, you didn't end up getting the cover, but you said West Virginia is going to do some weird things on offense. And West Virginia, I didn't get the feeling that they were pulling out all of this trickeration, but pleasantly surprised by what we saw from Garrett Green, the ground game as well, 146 yards for the Mountaineers. Listen, you only score 14 or 15 points in a really tough road environment, but it wasn't a total disaster. And maybe for the Mountaineers, that's a step in the right direction.
I felt so vindicated when they ran that little ring around the rosy thing for the last 2-point conversion. I was like, look, what did I tell you guys? Neil Brown.
That's so stupid.
Neil Brown does not care this year. He is just going to do whatever he wants. And yeah, maybe that's going to equate to some wins down the road against less talented teams, but Penn State is just way too talented. Almost got the cover that I wanted, but Penn State scores a late bad beat touchdown that really wasn't necessary. Thank you, James Franklin. But we'll see. We'll see how far that carries them this year. I don't think that it's going to lead to a ton of wins, but it could steal 1 or 2 in the Big 12.
Number 3, Ohio State beats Indiana 23-3. Garrett, we're used to this score being much higher. Indiana hadn't beaten Ohio State since the 80s, and that obviously will have to wait at least another year. But Ohio State's offense was very underwhelming in this game. The Ryan Day slander is back. The offense looked at as sink, and you didn't even get your best player involved. As I mentioned earlier in the show, Marvin Harrison Jr., 2 catches for 18 yards. Do you put the blame more on Kyle McCord or on Ryan Day and the offensive scheme?
I'm going to put the blame on game 1. I know it's not necessarily like me to defend the Buckeyes on this podcast.
No, it's not. Somebody saved this.
But I'm going to be nice to Joe for today. We're going to be nice. Look, you're breaking in a new quarterback. And I know that the only thing that I heard in the offseason was, how could you think this is new? He's been in the system for years. He's going to know exactly what he's doing. And I said, it's going to take him a minute. But the open is pretty soft. You know, Ohio State doesn't have to play a good team for a month. You played Notre Dame a little bit, but it seems like for the first month of the season, it's a soft open to the schedule. And he's going to have a few games to really, open things up, right? He's going to have a couple of games to figure things out, look at some tape, and figure out what he did wrong. And look, if you're me, I would have rather had the game Ohio State had than the game that Alabama had, because there's more things to correct on tape in this game than there is in what Jalen Milroe had or with what Carson Beck had at Georgia, right? These are new quarterbacks trying to break into their system, and I'd rather have them learn from mistakes early so they can see what they did wrong and make those corrections than just have hey, you played a bad team and you went off. Congratulations. Now, I know that's not what Ohio State fans want to hear. Ohio State fans wanted to see them score 50-plus and have no issues and everything was great, but at the same time, that's not what's going to happen when you get punched in the face against Notre Dame. That's not what's going to happen when you get punched in the face against Michigan or against Penn State or one of these other big teams that you're playing this year. You have to be careful. You have to be aware of your mistakes early. I'd much rather have a week to prepare for that or a couple weeks to prepare for that than have to talk to them at halftime in one of those games and say, hey, by the way, they're doing this and you can't do that anymore, right? And so, look, was it amazing? No. Are there probably a lot of reasons to be concerned if you're Ohio State? Yeah. But right now, breathe in, breathe out, deep breath. Let's slow it down for a second. You still have one of the most talented wide receiver cores. You still have one of the most talented rosters. Your defense held them to 3 points all game. Let's relax, right? You scored not very much in the first game last year, and then you ended up in the playoffs. So let's relax. Let's take it easy. Things are going to be okay for the Ohio State Buckeyes fans.
That is hands down the nicest thing you've ever said about Ohio State. So
I'm trying to be better this year,
Buckeye fans, savor this moment because this is a new one.
A new man.
If you get boat raced by Notre Dame, I'm not going to be nice.
That's fair. And hey, the way that Sam Hartman's slinging it, that Notre may Dame. Be a possibility.
Look out.
Elsewhere, you guys tell me where we want to go. Trey, Iowa beats Utah State 24-14. A little bit of history there for Kirk
There's no
Ferentz
way
and the
that's
boys.
true.
Fresno State upsets Purdue 39-35. And then, of course, there's the Nebraskaning that I'm terming. They lose a game in a way that only Nebraska could lose. They lose to Minnesota on Thursday night, 13-10. Which of those three games kind of tickles your fancy?
Let's talk Iowa real quick because Nebraska's trusting the process. I don't think anybody went into that game. They thought they could win as that game developed, but I don't think we're really, it's not trashing the program. It's not going to burn the program to the ground that they lost. Obviously, the jokes write themselves at this point about Nebraska in one-score games, but we're not going to go there. There's no way that stat's true, Mitch. That Iowa hasn't scored on an opening drive in 32 years until
of the first game.
Right. Even that.
But yes,
opening drive of the season. It's been 32 years since they scored on an opening drive of the season.
That's correct. The last time that Iowa scored on the opening drive of a season, which they did it this year, Cade McNamara threw a 37-yard touchdown pass. The last time the vaunted Hawkeyes had done that was 1991, gentlemen. It's the first time in Kirk Ferentz's illustrious career, 25-year career at the helm, that he has ever done that. So, if you're
were any of us around in 1991? Because I know I wasn't.
I was not. If you are new to college football, if you are new to the Shadow Realm, to Iowa, the lack of offense is not necessarily a new thing for the Hawkeyes. So, listen, they raced out to a 14-point lead. I think Iowa Hawkeye fans were maybe fanning themselves, getting a little hot and bothered over all the points early in the game, and then they only scored 10 in the remaining three quarters. Despite a 14-0 eruption, they still fall a point shy of Brian Ferentz's quota of 25 points, a game that he has to reach to keep his contract alive. Trey, it felt like we were going to start building up some cushion here, but that's honestly shame on us.
Oh, yeah. We should have known that someone was going to put in a call, say that wasn't allowed in the state of Iowa, that 14 points is way too many for one quarter. We need to slow it down a little bit. There's children in that stadium, Mitch. There's children. We can't.
And outside of the stadium,
and outside,
waving to folks at the Kinnick Wave.
Well, yes, and we can't have any of those children inside or outside of the stadium. We can't have their dreams and their innocence just shattered by embarrassing the other team by scoring that many points. So we can't do that. This is Iowa. We can't have that in our wholesome situation. So it's a family affair at Iowa.
How is Iowa supposed to win without punting, guys? I mean, that was a question they were not prepared to answer in the first quarter. But they do get the win by 10 over Utah State. Garrett, boy, Purdue had a chance, and I feel like in West Lafayette, we call them the spoiler makers. Mikey Keene threw the Uno reverse card and threw for 366 yards and 4 touchdowns. Eric Brooks had himself a day, 9 catches, 166 yards, and a tutter. The big stat for me, Garrett, I don't know if it's this easy to win when it's this way. 13 minutes of time of possession edge for the Fresno State Bulldogs. Breaking a new offense, a new head coach. When you're down by an entire quarter in ball possession, that's not a recipe for success.
Well, and that's how that offense is supposed to work. You're not supposed to hold on to the ball for very long anyways, but you got to go score. And so, 35, not a bad offensive output, but defense was just non-existent there. So, get your team back on the field, Purdue defense, and maybe we'll say something. I said before the game that, Purdue might be a little bit slept on, but maybe they were just asleep. I don't know what the deal was with Purdue. So just nice to see that the Shadow Realm is back. I'm kind of happy to see that, there were some weird outcomes back there in the Shadow Realm. I'm glad to see it for another season. I hope you guys are with me on that one. I'm excited to maybe go take the plunge on this division one more time.
Yeah, Illinois, Toledo got weird, and Toledo almost played the upset there. Wisconsin started slow. It was a great day all around for the Shadow Realm.
Yeah.
We mentioned it, Minnesota 13, Nebraska 10. Nebraska outplayed Minnesota basically the entire game. Minnesota's working in a new offense without Tanner Morgan, Mo Ibrahim. In fact, did you guys know that PJ Fleck has a losing record if Tanner Morgan is not starting at quarterback? That was a concerning stat for the Gophers, but they do end up winning thanks in part to, once again, turnovers for the Cornhuskers. A fumble by Anthony Grant on the penultimate drive, horrific. You don't even do this in NCAA 14. Interception thrown by Jeff Sims, his third of the day, throwing late over the middle. Ultimately sealed the deal for the Huskers. For our Nebraska fans, we won't torture you any more than that. Number 2, Michigan rolls over East Carolina, 30-3. Not much to say other than the weird tribute to Jim Harbaugh, the free Harbaugh shirt worn by JJ McCarthy. I don't know if anyone informed him that's a self-imposed sanction. So, take it up with the athletic department, I guess. Wisconsin, Trey, you mentioned a slow start. Tanner Mordecai did not have a good game, but the Badgers do win 38-17 over Buffalo. Michigan State also overcomes a slow start and a deficit to the Chips of Central Michigan. They eventually win 31-7. Illinois beats Toledo in a last-second field goal, 30-28, and Maryland starts the road to 10 wins, according to Garrett. Strong, and they beat Townsend 38-6.
Hey, Talia looked great in that game. Give that man some credit. I said he was a great quarterback. I said he was best in Big Ten. I might be hanging on to that a little bit longer. Had a big scramble to score at the very beginning of the game. Tossed a few more. I'm vibing with it, man. Go Terps.
Garrett, you might look good against Towson in your current state playing quarterback. I'm not gonna lie though.
Hey, yeah, I mean, even with the bionic arm, yeah, we can maybe do something about that.
He's a great quarterback, though. I'm excited to see him play.
He is very good.
And the script jerseys look phenomenal.
Oh, they were clean.
In both the red and the black that they'll show us later on this season.
Gracious him! How about